Right, so let's do a reality check because I know both of you have been reading what's going on online about this. This section is causing global commentary. All right, here's a sample of some of the comments. I want you guys as a reality check here. This is a site called The Dollar Vigilante. Check this out. When a bank deemed systematically important finds itself in trouble, taxpayers won't be on the hook to provide the funds to rescue the bank from its bad decisions. Instead, the bank will get to look inward towards its own customers and the funds in their accounts. The Cypriot model is catching on. Let me give you another one. This is from the Economic Collapse blog. Quote, the politicians of the Western world are coming after your bank accounts. In fact, Cyprus-style bail-ins are actually proposed in the new Canadian government budget. Jim, are these conspiracy theories or legitimate concerns?
There are a lot of conspiracy theories out there around money and banking and that kind of thing. So you have to take anything you read online with an enormous dose of salt. But the reality is that the term bail-in does mean we will turn to the depositors in a bank to help cover the cost of rescuing the bank. Now, I agree with Ian, the chances of a bank failure are remote, although our own banks were in crisis in 08 and 09. I think the government should abandon this whole focus on the so-called moral hazard. What they're doing here is trying to say, yes, we're going to protect systemically important banks, but you don't have a blank check, okay? You still have to behave prudently. I think it's much better to say we don't want them to fail, we're not going to let them to fail, and we're going to regulate them accordingly so that they're acting prudently and they're diverting and channeling their new credit into the real economy, into speculation. That way we can avoid the discussion about, you know, how much should the depositors be on the hook for, because when people read that, they're going to say, well, I'm going to take my money and put it somewhere else, and that itself becomes a problem.
Look, they're putting skin back into the game, to use that slang phrase. They're saying to anybody who invests in bonds in a bank, buys shares in a bank, or has deposits greater than $100,000, you have to be at risk. That's what they're saying. It's the opposite of a bail. I mean, instead of using the taxpayers to bail out and save banks, as they did in the United States, by the way, with Lehman in 2008, terrible decision. Because the taxpayers, who weren't even responsible for the bank, bailed out the bank, and the bondholders didn't get fried or wiped out. Neither did the shareholders. The executives weren't fired, and they didn't bail in from the depositors over 100.
But the problem is,
they should have.
In our banking system, the most precious commodity is confidence, okay? Because the biggest threat to a bank is a sudden loss of confidence, so everyone goes and takes their money out, fearing a collapse, and that act in and of itself causes the collapse that they feared. So getting into this moral hazard thing, every depositor has to have skin in the game, every depositor should go and inspect the stability of the bank before they put their money in, is completely counterproductive.
And isn't the moral hazard here, doesn't this, in a sense, give the banks a get-out-of-jail-free card if you're deemed systemically important, and all our banks essentially are, right?